Long may you run. Maybe the Beach Boys had got you now.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Swift Lessons for part 2 of my series breaking down Neil Young's Long May You Run. In this session, I'm going to be teaching you how to play the tune's iconic guitar solo, which features a bunch of fairly beginner-friendly major pentatonic licks. Now, one thing I don't know about this solo is who performed it. Was it Neil Young or was it Stephen Stills? If you know the answer to that question, let me know in the comments section down below. I'm dying to know. Now, once again, we have this beautiful Furch red GC-LC acoustic guitar. I'm gonna focus in here for you. In our previous session, we got to hear what this thing sounds like as a rhythm guitar. Now, let's hear what it sounds like on lead. As always, I have a full tab for you at patreon.com/swiftlessons. You can support the channel there and gain access to a ton of extra resources for all my popular YouTube guitar lessons. Now, let's get started. Okay, a close look at the fretboard, getting started with section 1 of this lesson. Examining the musical context that we're jamming over top of. We're in the key of D major, and all the chords in the progression are being drawn from the D major scale, which contains the notes D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C sharp, and D again. Now each of those notes can be converted into a chordal form and labeled 1 through 7. Okay, using that concept, we can look at the chord progression in this song and recognize that it's the 1 chord, going to the 1 chord with a major 7, to the 4 chord, G major, and then back to the 1 chord again, D major. Alright, from there we're on to the minor 6 chord, B minor, back to the 4 chord, G, and then to the 5 chord, A major, for 2 measures. Now that whole progression is going to repeat again with a slight variation at the end. The D major, the 1 chord, to its major 7. Alright, then to the G major, the 4 chord, back to the 1 chord, to the minor 6, to the 5, and then back to the 1 chord. Okay, so now that you understand the musical context, let's get a few scales under your fingers, and then I'll break down the solo for you. Okay, very good everybody. Now that you understand the musical context, let's get some scales down. This solo is being created using the D major pentatonic scale in 2 different positions. The main position, also known as the G position. Here I am playing a D major chord using a G shape, transposing the G up to that 10th fret position, and then barring. Not a very useful chord, but it does show you how the scale overlaps with the chord. Okay, so the D major scale in its G shape main position, that's going to be 10th fret of the low E string, to the 7th fret A, up to 9, same thing on the D string, same thing on the G string, and then on the B string and high E string, we're playing 7 up to 10. Okay, you put that together and we have the D major pentatonic scale in its G shape position. Now, he's also going to go up into this thing that we call the upper extension. Alright, that's the 11th fret of the G string, 10th fret B, up to 12, same thing on the high E string, 10 to 12. But this is part of a completely different position of that D major pentatonic scale, known as the E shape position. Okay, so that was 10 on the low E string, that's the D note, the root, going up to 12, the A string, 9 to 12, same thing on the D string, the G string, 9 up to 11, the B string, 10 to 12, and then the high E string, 10 to 12. Okay, and remember that little trick that I taught you about how to recognize whether or not you're playing a major pentatonic scale. It should always sound like the song My Girl. Okay, just a little trick for being able to recognize a pentatonic scale in a major key. Okay, so get those scales down. The D major pentatonic scale in its G shape. Alright, and then also practice it in its E shape. Once you feel like you have those down, commit it to muscle memory, then you're ready to jump into learning this solo. Okay, very well done everybody. You now understand the musical context and also the source scales. You're now ready to jump into learning this solo. We're going to take this line by line. We're going to have 4 lines of music all together, getting started with line number 1. It's going to look and sound like this. One more time, real slow, get it into your ear. Okay, so we started off sliding up into that upper extension of the D major pentatonic scale that we talked about before. So it's going to be 9, sliding up to 11, and then go into the 10th fret of the B string, where we're going to pluck that note 3 times with a little bit of rhythm. So, alright, next we're going to hammer up 10 to 12, back to 10, and then ring out, finishing the lick on the 11th fret of the G string. Okay, put that together and we have. Alright, then the second lick on this line, getting us to the G major chord, we're going to play. Alright, and that last note there gets us to the next line of music. Okay, so that was the G string, 9 going down to 7, to 9 on the D, and then the G string, 7, and then 9 sliding up to 11, to get us to the next line of music. So, you put those 2 licks together and we have 4 measures of music, taking us from the last chord in the chorus, which is going to be a B flat sharp 11, getting us into that main chord progression that we talked about before. D major 7, and then G major. Okay, it should sound like this. Okay, that'll get us to line number 2, where we're going to play. Okay, so we're hammering 9 up to 11 on the G string, and then 11, 11. You're going to phrase it like this. Alright, then into the next measure, as the G chord comes in, we're back to the 9th fret of the G string, this time with the ring finger. Alright, transition into the A chord. Okay, so that was the 9th fret of the G string, and then down to 7, hammer 7 to 9, down to 7 again, and then to the 9th fret of the D string, and then finally as the A chord comes in, 7, 7 of the same string. Okay, so that phrase one more time, starting from the B minor chord. Okay, now let's put lines 1 and 2 together, coming out of the chorus. It should sound like this real slow. Alright, now that'll get us to line number 3, where it starts to cook a little bit. It's going to sound like this, real slow. And that last note there gets us to line number 4. Okay, let's break this up into 2 parts. The first one is kind of reminiscent of the first lick that we played. It sounds like this. Okay, so that's taking us from the A chord to the D chord. We're sliding up from 9 up to 11 on the G string again. Then we're playing 10 on the B, and then hammering 10 to 12. Then playing 10, 12 again. So far you have. Alright, next we're going to play 10, 10 on the high E string, and then 12, 10 on the B string. Okay, put all that together and we have. right, now the next lick is going to start on that 10th fret of the B string, and it's going to be just before we go into the G major chord section. All right, so the next lick's going to sound like this. Transitioning back and forth between those two positions of the major pentatonic scale in D. Okay, so one more time. All right, so that was the 10th fret B string, then middle finger, 11th fret G, sliding down to 9. From there, I'm on to the 7th fret G string, 9th fret D, back to 7 on the G, and then once again sliding 9 up to 11, this time with the ring finger. Okay, you put that last lick together and we have... Alright, and the two licks together, all of line number 3 should sound like this. Okay, now on to our 4th and final line, wrapping things up here. It's gonna sound like this real slow. Okay, nice little country ending there, right? Okay, so that started with this first phrase. 1, 2. Alright, so we're on the 9th fret of the G string with the index finger, going up to 11, and then down to 7. Nice and short. Alright, then we're gonna play 7, 7 as you hammer up to 9. So far you have 2 measures of music. Alright, there's a little space in the beginning. 1, 2. Alright, then as the A chord comes in, 7th fret of the D string, that happens to be an A note, so it's easy to see why it works. Alright, so 7, 7, 7 up to 9 with the hammer. Alright, and then finally, 9 again, and then 7 on the G string. Okay, now that's getting us from the D chord to the B minor to the A chord. You put it together and we have... Alright, now finishing up, we're gonna play. Alright, so that was 7, up to 9, back to 7, and then 4 sliding down to 2, all on the G string. Before hitting the open D string, okay, you put all of line 4 together and we have 1, 2. Okay, very good everybody. Now let's practice through the entire solo, lines 1 through 4, coming out of the chorus. Real slow, it should sound like this. Line number 3. Alright, just like that everybody, congratulations, you're ready to perform. Alright friends, thanks so much for checking out this Neil Young guitar tutorial. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what you think in the comments section down below. As always, big thanks to my supporters at patreon.com/swiftlessons. Hope you're enjoying all those extra resources. And thanks to you guys, I got many more lessons coming up. So keep checking in, please subscribe, please share. This is Rob at Swift Guitar Lessons in Philadelphia, saying happy picking.